Hey guys, Troy Francis coming at you with another video in central London, slightly different location today. We're in Leicester Square, which is one of the most famous and the busiest parts of the city. We're outside the famous Hippodrome Casino, which you might be able to see behind me. It used to be a theatre, used to have lots of really famous acts on there. It is now a casino, 24 hours I think. They've got bars and stuff in there. I think there's a roof bar as well apparently. Anyway, there you go, a little bit of potting history. So what we're talking about today is Edge. Now, this is something, obviously, I come back to quite a lot. I've got a course called The Edge, which I run with James Tusk. We've been running The Edge 3.0 for about the last, it feels like 45 years now. It's actually been most of this year. We've been running the program with a bunch of students. We're doing regular webinars with them, with different experts in things like hormones and fitness and fashion, style, just generally talking about how to comport yourself in a way that's attractive and is engaging and everything else. So it is obviously a subject that I've talked about on the channel before, and it's something that I find myself coming back to time and again. And the main reason for that is really because in the dating advice space, what we find is that we are no longer in the business of, and haven't been for a long time really, in the business of pick-up artistry, you know, giving people lines to say, or openers, or, oh, this is what you do, these are the 6 things that you say when you're in a coffee shop and you see an attractive woman, and so on and so forth. I mean, it's not really, if that stuff ever works, and I think it probably did work at some point, largely pre-social media, largely pre-Instagram back in, 2012 and before then, some of this stuff kind of, you were able to get some traction with this kind of stuff. These days, sure, the overriding principles are still valid, but you need something more than that. You need something of substance to offer to the marketplace, basically. Essentially what I'm saying is the product, because you are the product and the game is your marketing, okay? The product also needs to be good. Now, the truth of the matter is it always did, really, and the reality is that let's be blunt, the better looking the guy was, the better dressed, the more socially savvy, the more suave the dude already was, the more likely he was to be successful. Now, back in the old days, because I remember them because I'm really old now, back in the old days, people would be attracted to the dating space, the social skills advice space. And there would be meetups and events, and you'd get some really kind of, with the greatest respect, some really kind of weird, colourful, creepy, crawly characters who would come to these things, some really strange people. And look, I mean, no disrespect to them, genuinely, because everybody deserves to have a romantic life, right? Everybody deserves love. Everybody should have a shot at finding what they want in that department, okay? And some people are a bit more eccentric than others, and you have to work with that. But the reality is, and this is always the case, even pre-Instagram, we are in a marketplace, okay? And it doesn't sound very romantic. It sounds a little bit crude. It sounds a little bit clinical and mathematical, but the truth is that all of us have a certain amount of value to offer to the marketplace, okay? And the women that we interact with also have their own value that they are offering, and it becomes an exchange. Now, the marketplace is dynamic, by which I mean that it's not this static thing. Your value can improve, it can also decrease. Her value can improve, it can also decrease over time, okay? And often people might say of women that their value decreases over time. Sometimes people say about men their value increases over time, but again, it's a very individualistic thing. I mean, not every guy is getting better with age. There's a lot of dudes who, quite frankly, they're older and they look like somebody's dad and they look like they should get put in a retirement home. So, and many women retain their beauty and so on for many, many, many years. So it's not this exact science. The other thing, of course, and I've mentioned this before as well, is that the market is also affected by location, where you are geographically, and cultural as well, right? In some cultures, my value is going to be higher just inherently without me doing anything different. I step off the plane and my value is higher in certain places than it's going to be here in central London for a number of factors, right? I'm going to have some exotic value as a foreigner. I'm going to seem more interesting because I'm English, or I come from London, right? Or I've got a certain kind of accent, or I talk in a certain way, or I have a certain manner about me. When I'm here, if I'm talking to the average English person, then none of that matters really, because they just see me as another average English person, so I don't have that exotic value, okay? So there's that as well, all right? So as I say, the market is both dynamic and it is also not homogeneous, okay? The market is spread over the world, over different continents, over different countries, over different cities, even different locations within cities, okay? Your value may be different. Nevertheless, the fundamental principle remains. You have some value to offer, okay, and so does she, and it becomes a bartering process. Is what you have to offer good enough for what she thinks that she can get in the marketplace? And that is at the heart, as unromantic as it sounds, of seduction. Now, again, there are factors that come into play that skew this a bit. She might just be feeling really horny. She might be a little bit tipsy. She might have just split up with her boyfriend and she's looking for somebody to be intimate with on that night. You might get lucky in that sense, okay? So yes, it's not an exact science, but overall, you need to be bringing a certain value to the market, and it's the tried and tested stuff, right? It's, you know, how do you look? Now, you don't have to be a supermodel like me. You can be, you know, guys can get away with, there's some latitude around male looks, as much as the black pill people wouldn't like to admit it. You know, you don't have to be super good looking, but you do kind of need to be in shape. You do obviously need to be well groomed. You do need to look after yourself to the best of your ability and present yourself as well as you can, okay? Some sort of financial stability is useful. You don't need to be a multi-billionaire. You don't have to have a Bugatti of any color. You don't have to have a Lambo even a bloody Aston Martin. You don't even have to have one of those necessarily. It probably helps in some situations. I mean, let's be honest, you know, women like men with resources. That is an attractive thing for various reasons, because she likes cool, interesting experiences, and men who are successful, who have become successful, are deemed to be attractive because they're people who can make their way in the world and create opportunities for themselves, and those things are inherently masculine and in inverted commas alpha. So that's going to affect it as well. There's also, I think we've talked about fitness already. You want to be in decent shape as much as you can. Obviously that's something you can work on, grooming style, etc. Okay? All of these different things affect the manner in which you present yourself, okay? And all of those things can be worked on, which is really great, okay? So again, your value is not static, but on top of all of this stuff, all right, and perhaps the most important thing of all, is you need to have something else. You need to have some kind of charisma. Now, again, in our course, The Edge, we've called it Edge. You might call it X Factor. You might call it just call it charisma. You might call it Riz. There's a variety of different things that you can call it, but I think we all sort of know what we're talking about, right? Or at least I hope we do. Okay, I hope we do. I hope, and I say I hope, but there are actually guys out there who are sort of, the way that they look at this stuff is very linear and somewhat autistic, okay? And they sort of think, okay, so 1 + 1 + 1 + 1 = 4. And actually, it doesn't really work like that. So what I mean by that is they think, okay, I'm well dressed, I go to the gym, I've got a good job, I've got a nice car, therefore I should be getting laid. Okay, therefore I should have a super hot girlfriend. But you don't have the extra thing, right? So 1 + 1 + 1 + 1 doesn't equal 4, it actually equals 7, or it equals -7, or it equals -5, or something, right? Because the bit that you're lacking, the bit that you've overlooked, is the most important bit, which is the charisma, okay? And that is really about the emotion that you make her feel, okay? Because having a nice car in itself, I guess it is going to make her feel a certain way. She might think, oh, that's exciting, this guy's got some money, maybe he can show me a good time. That's not necessarily ideal. I mean, that's getting more towards a gold digger side of things. If she also thinks that you're good looking, and she finds you sexually attractive, just naturally, and you've got a nice car, you might be onto a slightly better thing, because then she thinks, all right, this guy's kind of hot, I'd probably have sex with him, and also he's got a nice car, so that means we can, you know, probably have some cool dates together, some fun times together. That's really good. Okay, then you're onto a winner. But if you don't have those two components, and even then, if you've got those two components, but you're a boring fuck, and your conversation is shit, and you're very analytical, or you're oddly autistic, or you're really linear, or you just don't really, you know, you're just not an engaging person, then she may tolerate you for a while, but she's not necessarily gonna wanna continue that engagement long term, okay? And this is why guys, you know, often we hear about guys who they'll say, yeah, you know, I met her, I thought she really liked me, it seemed to be going well, those initial first dates seemed to be going well, and then she just ghosted and she disappeared, okay? Why is that? Well, probably because the interaction between the two of you wasn't sufficiently snappy enough, it wasn't sufficiently fiery enough to make her want to hang around, right? There's got to be some reason for her to want to spend time with you, okay? And that comes down to this weirdly undefinable thing called chemistry, which, again, hopefully we all sort of understand what that means, at least cerebrally, but maybe it's hard to put your finger on exactly what it is, okay? Now, part of what we teach is how to go about generating that chemistry. And again, this is not an exact science, I'm afraid, because you can't guarantee that you're going to be able to generate chemistry with anybody. I mean, I'm just randomly in a street here and, you know, surrounded by, you know, random people. I mean, some of these people I might get on with really well. Others, you know, I'm just going to have nothing in common with. We're just not going to be on the same vibe, and it's just not going to work regardless of what I do. So I could do anything and it's just not going to make any difference, okay? So you have to take that into account as well. There's a certain randomness, a certain amount of luck involved with this stuff. But there are certain general principles that you can use that can at least help you or make it more likely that you're going to be able to generate chemistry with somebody when you're on a date, in the first meeting, you know, in the first few weeks of dating. And that's really, really fucking super important, because it's in those early stages where she's really making a decision about you and thinking, okay, well, this guy, yeah, all right, maybe he's decent looking, maybe he's, you know, he's got a certain lifestyle, okay, that's cool, but is this somebody I actually want to spend time with? And if you're not stepping up to the plate at that point, then the answer may well be no, and then you get ghosted, and then you complain on message boards or on Twitter or et cetera, and then the cycle begins again. So you've got to sort out all the self-improvement stuff. Yes, money, muscles, game, frame. You've got to sort all that stuff out, for sure. And we all need to be working on that stuff, and we all need to be working on that stuff every day, okay? Without fail. But the most important component of all is the Riz side of things. And if you don't have that, then you're probably screwed, to be honest, in 2024, because there's a lot of options out there, all right? You know, we can have a look around. There's a lot of people here. There's a lot of different options. And as we know, you know, women tend to have more options than men. There's a lot of dudes around here that these women can date if they want to. They're all on the dating apps. They're all sliding into the DMs, et cetera, et cetera. So you've got to have that extra thing about you. You've got to have that magic touch, okay? That magic mic touch. I think magic mic's on over here. You've got to have that magic thing about you. And if you don't, then, you know, good luck. So that's why you need, if this is somewhere that you struggle and, you know, you're just not getting the kind of traction that you want, then this is somewhere where you need to, you need to inquire about some coaching, right? You know, you need to, you know, maybe you need to get some help with this stuff, all right? Because if you don't, then you're just going to end up in the same place, right? And you don't know what you don't know. That's the other thing. You don't know what you don't know, okay? So with that being said, thank you very much for watching. Please do like the video. Please do subscribe to the channel if you haven't done so already. Give us a like on the way out. Write a comment below. We've got an event coming up in London in July. It would be amazing if you could join. We're going to be teaching some in-person dating skills to you live over 3 days, okay, at the end of July. I'll see you guys again very soon. Bye-bye.